just looking to portion this as well.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to bring this meeting of the Comox Valley Sewage Commission to order and welcome everybody. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are meeting on the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation. And we're particularly grateful today as we look out and see the sunshine down on the bounteous creation that we all are fortunate to enjoy. And also, I believe Director Hamir is joining us today. I'd like to welcome her. We do have a delegation to start. So I will ask Eric Erickson to take the floor and present. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm here with regard to the plan to use the alternative approval process to obtain approval for the sewer system loan authorization bylaw number 647. The alternative approval process calls for electors through electoral response forms to be provided with an opportunity to indicate that council may not proceed with the bylaw unless it is approved by assent of the electors. If the number of elector responses received is less than 10% of the number of electors of the area to which the approval process applies, approval is considered to have been obtained. The point here is that the process is not meant to determine whether electors are for or against the bylaw, but rather whether they think the bylaw should be put before the electors to obtain assent. I have reason to believe that if electors are properly informed about the loan authorization bylaw and the alternative approval process, at least 10% of the electors would express their feelings that the bylaw should go to referendum. The reason I believe this is based on the results of 2 AAPs that have recently taken place in the Valley. The Hornby Island Fire Hall Bylaw and the City of Courtney 5th Street Bridge Rehabilitation Bylaw. The Hornby Island AAP drew a 25% response, 212 responses. That is, 25% of the electors thought the issue should go to referendum. The City of Courtney AAP drew a 0.26% response, which is 56 responses. Now, what could explain that enormous disparity? Well, the Hornby area is considerably smaller. They were able to organize town hall meetings to inform the electorate, and they were able to distribute electoral response forms by setting up a table at the co-op. This was not possible in Courtney. To conduct the same kind of campaign would have been a massive undertaking at any time, but in the time of COVID restrictions, literally impossible. So how were the Courtney electors advised of the bylaw and the alternative approval process? By the minimum required by the Government Act, which was to place a notice in 2 editions of the local newspaper. Now, I don't know if you got a copy of the notice. I asked for it to be distributed.
I believe staff have the package, thanks.
Okay, so this is the copy of the page. And here is the notice of alternative approval process. It was on the notice was placed on page 51 of the classified ad section. That notice tells you how to submit feedback. You can see that the instruction occurs at the bottom third of the notice. And then in order for anyone to have seen that instruction, they would have had to be someone who reads the record from back to front, including word for word, the classified ad section, and in particular, the notice in its entirety. And I don't think very many people did, because I think there is as great a percentage of people in Courtney that think a loan authorization bylaw should go to referendum as the people of Hornby Island. So I'd like to ask that the regional board send out an electoral response form to every eligible elector for them to return with a proper explanation about the loan and the purpose of the alternative approval process.
Thanks very much for the presentation. I'll turn it over to our staff for comments before seeing if any of the directors have questions for you.
Thank you very much, Chair and Commissioners, and I'll just refer to James Warren. He can tell you a little bit about what is planned because Mr. Erickson raises some good questions with respect to the notice and how people will be informed, and our staff can advise you, the Commission, as to what is proposed here. So I'll first go to James Warren.
Thanks, Russell. So and thanks to the delegation, Mr. Erickson, for the information you presented. I'm just going to touch briefly on the AAP itself, the alternative approval process, and some of the notification that we are doing around that. And then I'll turn the microphone over to Christian Weil, who can provide a bit more information about the conveyance project as a whole. The AAP itself, we do have a news release scheduled for May 25th and then legal advertising on May 26th and June 2nd. That's the legal advertising is required through the legislation for an AAP. What's different about this AAP is that it's being conducted in a we're calling it a singular AAP or a universal AAP. We're combining all of the regional districts initiatives, AAP initiatives, into a single process where we'll be taking out a full 2-page advertisement to the newspaper to describe the process, to inform the public on all the different initiatives that are at play, so people can identify which ones might apply to them and which ones they might need to get more information on. There's extensive information online around this AAP as well. And so the conveyance project being obviously a significant project for the CBRD, we're certainly intending on getting lots of information out around the AAP piece of that. And I think I'll turn it over to Christian, if I could, just to give some description of the conveyance project and the outreach being conducted on that.
Great, thank you, Chair. If I could just double check that you are able to hear me, Chair, in the Civic Room.
Yes, we can, thanks.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Let's pull up some notes here. So I'd like to just touch on some of the outreach that we've done to this point, because our communications outreach on this issue began earlier in the year, and that was following the Sewage Commission's decision on the preferred conveyance solution and the decision to move forward with the AAP as the mechanism to approve funding. So at that point in time, we distributed a press release, and that was shared on social media. And we also updated our project page. That is our continuous mechanism for connecting with the public throughout the conveyance public consultation. And on that page, we explained the decision, including the route map, project costs, and how approval would be sought for the project through an AAP. We also distributed email updates to participants from the consultation, our TAC pack, in those who had registered for project updates, as well as we sent follow-up letters to business owners and the local Comox Valley environmental groups, as well as our partners, the KFN, City of Courtney, and Town of Comox. So moving forward, we've now established specific project links on the AAP landing page for legislative services, and that includes the loan authorization bylaw and directions for submitting an elector response form. And we're in the process of finalizing a video on the conveyance project specifically, which will provide an overview of the project and the AAP process. And we've also developed a backgrounder for municipal frontline staff to distribute to residents seeking more information about the project and how it relates to their taxes. And then we'll be issuing a news release on how to participate in that unified AAP that James just touched on in late May. In addition to those ads for legislative requirements, the corporate communications team has also developed display ads that will be published in the newspaper on May 5th and May 12th. So I hope that's some helpful background.
Thanks very much. Do any of the Sewage Commission members have any comment or question they want to make at this time? Seeing none, Eric, would you like to make a final comment?
Yeah, all that is all well and good, but I think it would be a really good idea to send out the form to everybody. And I think my question would be, what would be the problem with that anyway?
Thanks very much for your presentation. And I will note that the decision to approve the AAP process was made democratically by the members of the Sewage Commission who are appointed from their governing bodies. And I think we've heard a fairly comprehensive account from staff of the methods to publicize this process, which is standard within municipal governance. And with that, I'll thank you once again for presenting your views to the Sewage Commission today. And we'll move on with the agenda. Could I have a motion to receive the delegation, please?
Move receipt.
Second.
Moved Cole Hamilton, seconded Moran. Is there any further discussion? Is anyone opposed to receipt? Seeing and hearing none, that is approved. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to the management report. I'll take a motion to receive.
Move receipt.
And a seconder?
Second, Minions.
Moved Cole Hamilton, seconded by Minions. Any discussion or comment or question? Seeing and hearing none, we'll take the vote. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, that is approved. And we'll move on to the Comox Valley Sewage Management Advisory Committee minutes. And again, a motion to receive. Moved by Moran, a seconder, please.
Second, Minions.
Seconded by Cole Hamilton. Don't be shy now. Everybody should get their name in the minutes at least once. Okay, any comment or question in relation to the Management Advisory Committee meeting minutes? Is anyone opposed to receipt? Seeing and hearing none, those are approved. We move on to item number 2, the Sewage System Conveyance Project Implementation Strategy. And again, I'll request a motion for receipt.
Move receipt.
Moved by Cole Hamilton, seconded by?
Second, Major Stevens.
Seconded by Major Stevens. Thanks very much. And we'll pass it over to staff to speak to this.
Thank you very much, Chair and Commissioners. And I'm going to refer to Chris LaRose to present this report and answer any of your questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. In fact, I will pass this off to Charlie Gore to present this report, and it will all be available to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, Chris. And oh, I'm getting a terrible echo there. Oh, that's better. Okay. So this report on our implementation strategy for the Sewage System Conveyance Project summarizes work that's been going on for the last year to really understand the best way to deliver the project. We've had some really great experience recently delivering the water treatment plant through a design build implementation strategy. And we've also have great experience using a more traditional design bid build for our smaller projects that we've been completing on the sewer side with our gravity trunk mains, our pump stations, and our odor treatment projects that we've been completing over my 4 years here at the CVRD. But knowing that we're going into another large project here that has many facets to it, it has pump stations, it has tunneling, it has cut and cover force main work. It is a complex project that has many different ways that it could be implemented. So we undertook a procurement model assessment with an external consultant who has expertise in the industry on delivering large projects like this. And the focus of that study was to look at the different combinations of scope items and whether we were to bundle them up or split them up into different areas, as well as the different procurement strategies, whether we're going design bid build or design build for those. And through that process, it was identified that going with a design build methodology was advantageous for such a large, complex project like this. Some of the big advantages there are we allow the contractor to use their expertise in the area to tweak the design to allow for more effective construction methodologies, which in turn allows them to reduce schedule and cost impacts. And so that was a major outcome of the procurement model assessment. However, on further work that was undertaken through the value engineering process and discussions with the town of Comox, who are a major stakeholder, obviously, for this project, with the alignment going through the downtown core of the town, it was identified that there were also some challenges with that procurement strategy of bundling the entire scope into one design build contract. And so working with that value engineer, we evaluated the concept of breaking out the segment through the town and delivering that through a design bid build. So allowing more control over the detail design, working with our partner municipalities through that process to ensure that we can respond to all the concerns of the town and while also delivering the major components of the project through that design build methodology. So what I hope to do here is to share my screen. I have a little presentation just to put all this up on a map. So just bear with me for one moment. May I have permission to share my screen there, host?
Looks like that's been given, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and I can confirm that we're seeing it here, and I'm assuming everyone online also has the view.
Okay, so this is the map that was presented to the Sewage Commission back in February when we conferred the preferred conveyance route for the project. And you can see here, I've just overlaid some lenses to this map to show the area through the town from St. Joseph's Hospital site through to Torrance and Croto on the east side of Comox is what we're proposing to break out as a design bid build. And that will allow us to work with the town and the Sewage Commission over the next year to really confirm the detailed scope and all the nuances of constructing through the downtown core, while in parallel getting the design build project going for the pump stations and the tunnels and the complex nature of that project, which really does require a very different style of methodology. So whilst the overall hydraulic design that is driven by the elevation that the pipes travel across land, as well as the pump stations, will be controlled by the design build process. The nitty gritty of going cut and cover through the town would be able to be managed in a more collaborative nature with the staff at the town, address their concerns, and be delivered through a more traditional tender after we agree on a detailed design. And so my only other slide here today is a simplified schedule. The staff report has quite a detailed schedule. And the reason why I wanted to provide a detailed schedule in the staff report was to really give that granularity for those that are interested to understand exactly how we are proposing to go about delivering these two pieces of the project in parallel, and the different milestones that we plan to come back to the Sewage Commission for key decisions. And so this slide I have up here on the screen is a simplified version of that, showing the different work that we're doing right now with the town of Comox. You can see down there in the green, the preliminary design that we're currently working through with the staff at the town, and some key decisions that will be coming up for us this fall with the Sewage Commission to not only approve the details of the scope for the design build so we can get that out onto the market, but also agree on the exact infrastructure that we will be impacting and replacing as we come through the town of Comox. And so the schedule does provide for some time for the town staff to work with their council to really evaluate the impacts that this project will have through the town, and allow both the CVRD and the Sewage Commission and the town, along with our other partner municipality, Courtney, to really agree on what makes sense in the overall agreement for the upgrading of that impacted infrastructure after we come through and install the pipe. So all of this to say is that the major construction impacts are expected through 2023 and the first half of 2024. And we are pushing very hard on this project. You know, I have a strong mandate from my executive to get this project done so that we can eliminate the risk of both the capacity issues at our pump station and the risk of the pipe in the foreshore and out on the bluffs. And so this implementation schedule would allow us to get the project complete and online before the winter season of 2024. So that's the crux of the report. There are a lot of details in there, and I'm very happy to answer any questions that any of directors have on not only how we came to the decision on the procurement strategy, as well as the way we plan to implement and the schedule moving forward.
Oh, there you go.
That's good. Thanks very much, Charlie. My apologies for the slight delay. I had a challenge with my mic here. Just before opening up to questions from members, I wonder if you could just, for those who may not be familiar, spell out in layman's language the essential difference between design build and design bid build.
Absolutely. So a design bid build is what we have typically at the CVRD delivered for projects. So it involves the CVRD taking on a detailed design consultant to come up with all of the details of the design, and then we tender that project to the contractors, to the market, and they know exactly what they're building. And so it's design and then bid being another word for tendering that. And then the contractor builds exactly what the consultant has designed. Whereas a design build is different in that we come up with the requirements of the project. They're more performance specifications. In this sense, we are saying we want them to pump this amount of sewage over this general route with these limitations, these constraints on the project. And then that design builder is a team of a contractor and a detail designer. And they're able to have some flexibility in the diameter of the tunneling equipment that they use, the specific pumps that they purchase. And so they do the detail design in parallel with the building of the project. And they're able to be a bit more flexible with the higher risk items like the tunneling, so that they're not beholden to a specific design from a separate party.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that. And Director Cole Hamilton.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sharon, and thank you for the presentation, Charlie. I had a couple of comments overall. Overall, I think that the way this is broken up is really useful. I can see particularly why going with design bid build for the Comox section makes all kinds of sense. And it was good to read that it's possible for local contractors to take the prime contractor position, given that they're familiar with this kind of cut and cover technique. So this is good news for both local jobs and the economy. And obviously, it sounds like there's quite a competitive bidding environment for the Comox piece. I just wanted to, there's something in the Deloitte report, which I was just curious about. It was it's on page 12, and it was just looking at sort of factors to be considered when selecting different options. And it listed completion on time as a low priority. And I'm assuming that means that any projected delays on that piece of the construction are on a fairly small order of magnitude. I'm guessing like weeks or months rather than anything more substantial than that. So I just wanted to get a sense of what potential delays might be. And I also wanted to just confirm, I assume with the Comox section that the contemplation of delays would be of a significantly higher order of importance, given that it would be going through the town. So I just want to sort of, I guess, talk about time delay variables for different pieces of it.
Yes, absolutely. So when we're doing the procurement model assessment, what we have to come up with is weightings towards different facets of cost, of schedule, of risk. And so when we allocated a low weighting to schedule, we weren't saying that schedule wasn't important. What we were trying to do is saying we don't believe that at the time that the district was willing to pay a huge premium to get the project done 6 months or 1 year earlier. So if you look at the water treatment project, we had a very hard deadline because BC Hydro are shutting down their penstock this July for the entire summer. And so that was a hard deadline for us to complete before then. However, with this project, we are up against the risk of the Willamar Bluffs and the capacity, but we're trying to be respectful of the taxpayer dollar here. So when we put that weighting of schedule, it was more saying we are looking for a more cost-effective design rather than willing to pay a premium to get the project done quicker. However, now that we have selected, and if we have the Sewage Commission support in the implementation strategy, now when we go into this and we have a schedule in place, we do put a lot of importance in that schedule and in those contracts to make sure that those contractors finish in time. As you can imagine, doing 2 projects in parallel, the timelines need to align, and that's why we've given a very a very reasonable time for both constructions. We're not trying to push them to fail, and then we're in trouble. So I think schedule is extremely important for the implementation of these projects. However, that weighting was merely trying to highlight that CBRD were not willing to pay a large premium to get the project done quicker.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies things considerably for me. And it would seem from what you're saying also that where there are risks of delay, they're of very small magnitude that are being contemplated. Is that correct as well?
It is because we have a completely functional system right now that we're replacing. So although there is the risk hanging over our heads of the Willamar Bluffs, if we don't finish by September of 2024, our system will continue to operate. So there is no large schedule risks that would penalize us severely if that is pushed a month or 2.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Charlie. Appreciate the clarification.
Thank you, Director Hamir.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for allowing me to ask these questions on conveyance. So not a question specifically on the design bid build portion, but to your the timeline that is in the report at the bottom of page 6 and top of page 7. I note that staff are going to continue to outreach to Area B residents that are being impacted. But that primarily it looks like most of that engagement will be online. And I just wanted to ask staff if there might be a possibility of doing in-person meetings, that are COVID safe. So that, because it just does sound like some of the residents are either not able to meet online or not comfortable with that process and are showing some real hesitation with the current, I guess, communications. So would staff be able to speak to that?
Sure, Mr. Chair, I can speak to that, and thank you for the question. First and foremost, I want to say that we want very much to have in-person meetings and to meet as groups as soon as possible, but we are having to follow the requirements, regulations, and advice provided by the medical health officer under these circumstances. The moment that things change and enable in-person, we will definitely move that way. Having said that, when we are meeting with large groups, and there are interest groups in the LASO area that are larger than what we can meet in person, we will accommodate those through Zoom. And it isn't all that bad because, in fact, it is a good method of meeting. All the questions asked are then answered by staff, and everybody gets the prospects, or everybody is able to hear and receive those. We also have a record that we can share with the public online, as we have done with our meetings in the past. And the other thing is it enables people to participate wherever they are. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to convene in one place. So that is convenient to them too. But having said that, when we can, we will. The other thing I'd like to say is that if individual residents throughout the community have questions of staff, we're more than willing to answer those and meet or discuss those on a one-on-one basis, and we will continue to do that. And sometimes that may be able to accommodate an in-person meeting where it is just with individuals or otherwise. And then finally, just when it comes to the consideration of right-of-ways or otherwise for those residents that will be affected by that, those will definitely be one-on-one meetings conducted by the consultant that will be hired to undertake that process. So we're managing it as best as we can. If things do loosen up and change, we will turn on it and provide for more in-person meetings for groups or otherwise when we can.
Great. Thank you for that explanation. I think staff are obviously taking to heart the need to have multiple methods of communication. So I really appreciate that for Area B residents.
Thanks, Director Hamir. Are there any further questions or comments from commission members? Doesn't appear to be, so we shall vote on receipt. Is there anyone opposed to receipt? Seeing and hearing none, receipt is approved. And we'll take someone to move the recommendation, please.
Move.
Moved by Director Grant, seconded by Director Cole-Hamilton, that the Sewage Commission approve the sewage system conveyance project implementation strategy, project delivery method, and project schedule in the April 9th, 2021 staff report, including breaking out the cut and cover portion through the town of Comox as a separate design bid build contract, whilst completing the remainder under a design build contract. Is there any further discussion? Is there anyone opposed to the motion? Seeing and hearing none, the motion carries. Thanks very much to staff for all the work involved in that report. We shall move on to item number 3, the apportionment of 2021 sewer municipal requisition for receipt. Motion to receive, please.
Receipt.
Moved by Director Morin, seconded by Director Cole-Hamilton. And thanks. I think that was a major trying to get in there as well. Any questions or comment?
Mr. Chair and Commission members, I know this is the report that you've all been waiting for. What is flowing where and from whom and who gets to pay? I'll just ask Chris LaRose just to give a bit of a summary to this report, and then we'll be able to answer any of your questions.
Thanks, Russell.
Thanks, Russell. Through the chair, hello, everyone. So this is a very brief report following up on a commitment to report out on an annual basis on the previous year's district allocation of flows between the service participants. So the report starts out with a summary table just providing the big picture. So with each of the participants, so the City of Courtney, Town of Comox, the DND, the KFN, and the septage flows, and then zeroes into the split of flows between the City of Courtney and the Town of Comox. And this is for the purpose of apportioning the municipal requisition for this year, so for the following year. So based on the flows last year in 2020, this year's municipal requisition will be allocated 68.09% to the City of Courtney and 31.91% to the Town of Comox. Just as a brief reminder, the municipal requisition is by far the largest piece of revenue for the service, but there is revenue coming in from the DND, Department of National Defense, and the KFN under service agreement, and then through receipt of septage at the treatment plant, and that's following the rates as laid out in the bylaw. So each partner contributes to the service, but only the municipal requisition is distributed between city and town, and that for this year that will be at the percentages listed in table number 2 in the report. And just one further point that we're not tracking any trend in distribution, so changing distribution between the two primary participants. This percentage is largely in line with what we've seen in previous years. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, Chris. Are there any questions or comments from commission members? Well, given Russell's comment that everybody's been anticipating this, we'll assume that Chris has just done a masterful job of addressing all the questions that people may have had. And so on that basis, is there anyone opposed to receipt? Seeing and hearing none, receipt is approved. We have no new business. I don't believe there's any media present to ask questions. So we'll take a motion to terminate. Moved by Director Morin, seconded by Director Cole-Hamilton. Any opposed? With great thanks to staff for setting this up and facilitating for us. Thanks very much. The meeting is terminated.